right, the next piece of our basic equation solution is this. You need to be able to look at a basic equation and know, is that solved using the graphs? Is it solved using this? Or is this solved using the triangles? If it's neither of these, then the third scenario is calculator. So there actually are three scenarios. There's the graphs, honk. There's the triangles, honk. If it's neither one of those, then the only way to solve that is with a calculator. So we'll kind of consider each of these in turn, so you become very familiar and very comfortable with them. So we'll talk about the graphs first. The equations that you may solve using the graphs are these. Sine of theta equals 0. Sine of theta is equal to 1. Sine of theta is equal to negative 1. The same three with cosine. Cosine theta is equal to 0. Cosine theta is equal to 1. Cosine theta is equal to negative 1. One thing you'll notice as we go through here, we're not going to talk about how to solve cosecant or secant or cotangent. Once you know how to solve sine, cosine, and tangent, then there's one little fiddly bit you do, and then you know how to solve cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So we're going to kick that can down the road for a bit. We're talking about sine, cosine, and tangent. So those three equations can be solved using just the graph. These three equations can be solved using just the graph. Tangent is different. Here, I'm going to erase this for now. Tangent here, let's do this. These three can be solved with the graphs. These three can be solved with the graphs. This one, this is a theta, I don't know what that is. Tangent of theta is equal to 0. Can be solved. But tangent theta is equal to 1, or tangent theta is equal to negative 1. These two are in the triangle category. I have students in the past, they get all of this perfectly well. Once you see it, it's a little rough sledding here at the start, but once we grease the skids a bit, once you see the procedure, this gets very straightforward. It's not particularly challenging to solve. But the key is sine, either 0, 1, negative 1, cosine, 0, 1, negative 1, all those can be solved using the graphs. Tangent is only 0 with the graphs. Tangent 1 or negative 1 must be solved with the triangles. And so tangent 1, tangent equal negative 1, tangent theta equal 1, tangent theta equal negative 1. These can only be solved using the triangles. They are not solved using the graphs. All right? So that's important to bear in mind when you're solving these. So if your equation you're trying to solve is sine of theta equals 0 or 1 or negative 1, that can be solved using these graphs. And we'll talk through that. Cosine equals 0, 1, or negative 1. That can be solved using this graph. We'll talk through that. Tangent theta equal to 0 can be solved using the graph. I'll put one more in here. We know the graph of tangent. Right, we know that's the graph of tangent crossing the axis at 0, 0. But tangent equal to 1 or negative 1 does not fall in this category, does not fall in this category. Tangent equal 1 or negative 1 falls into this category, and that's going to be different. So I'm going to talk through these as a group, and we should be able to see this, just look at these equations, and know from the graphs what the solutions are. So let's see if we can prove that in our procedure here. So